Okay, hello and welcome back, and yes, I am streaming for 2 days in a row. I decided not to stream last night after dinner because I was tired. And I had other stuff that I need to take care of. So we're going to do chapter 9 today, and then that'll be it for the time being. I don't know when I'll next stream, but even though I wasn't streaming, it didn't mean I wasn't playing. I played through chapter 8 of all the other routes and unlocked the CGs. The blurry CGs means that it's kind of suggestive. You know, calves are pretty tame, but some of them, let's just say that the MC gets to make out with everybody and leave it at that. But because of the settings that I picked, the more suggestive CGs are blurred out. Off stream, of course, I switched the settings so I could actually see the CGs, but I made sure to switch it back before I started the stream. So let's go to Cav and continue. I stopped at chapter 9 on all of them, so I have no idea what's coming. It's brand new. So here we go. Broken paths. When another figure materialized on the bridge seconds later, I nearly flung him right back out into space as well on instinct. But this one gave me a pause because I knew him. Or I knew of him anyway. I recognized his face. Savar. Of all the people I expected to see out here, he wasn't even close to being on the list. How interesting. I didn't expect you to recognize me so easily. I had to force myself not to flinch when he spoke. I raised every mental defense I had to diminish how much I felt his voice rather than heard it. Beside me, Cav was also very tense. He hadn't recognized Savare on sight, but he most definitely knew that name, and he would have. Placed a hand on his arm, though I didn't think he was as close to losing it as he might appear. Still, I wasn't sure what he might do. I thought, though, that he was trying hard to let me handle this, for now. You needn't be so on guard with me. Oh, that's pretty difficult to swallow given who you are, wouldn't you say? Is it? Not to interrupt, but who exactly is this unexpected visitor to my ship, Wayne? Savari Yashe, a pretty well-known Nostrana general. The Nostrana? Weren't they the faction the Aradio? I was that, once, long ago. Your crew has nothing to fear from me now. Well, that depends on how you define long ago, doesn't it? That many centuries are considered long by even our standards. I've chosen a different path now, and I've done my penance. Really, I can't help but wonder at the value of your penance. It doesn't bring back the lives lost, does it? No, it does not. And surely you don't think that a few centuries have washed the blood off your hands? If you're counting drops of blood spilled in a galaxy of trillions of beings, entire worlds have been lost to forces that make the Nostrana look like children, and yet, you can't think that changes anything. No, it doesn't alter the path I've walked to get to this point, but steps in a journey are merely steps, not the journey itself, nor the destination. I'm not the childish fool I once was. Let's just take a moment to admire the uniform. And yes, he is very pretty, but that's to be expected in a Steamberry game. You and I both know how distance diminishes the weight of the burdens we carry. I've changed my thinking in the many years since that war. My ship is one of watchers, wanderers, like yourself. No, I doubt you're anything like me. He regarded me in silence for an uncomfortable amount of time. No, perhaps not as much as I had hoped. What do you want, Yashe? I heard your call and I came, that's all. Oh boy. Nope. There we go. This is not the time to be rash. So we're gonna go with this one. I went to snap at him to tell him to leave, but this man hadn't specifically done anything to deserve my ire yet. I mean, last time that I lashed out emotionally, I regretted it, so I'm trying to be calm and collected here. And he had scared off that JN. That would not have ended well without Savari's intervention. What exactly did he mean by I had called him? It could just be that he was referring to my being careless, as everyone likes to say. Fine, you came, but what do you want? I want to talk, nothing more. Sure. I understand your frustration with the current flow of events. Oh, I highly doubt that. I at least understand that you are frustrated by the lack of information you have about your situation. The situation you are implying you have information about somehow. Though we didn't know it would play out the way it has, we have been waiting and watching for you for many years. We? Who's we? I believe it is in your best interest to allow me some of your time. And yet somehow I still struggle to believe you're here out of kindness and altruism. Kindness? No. No, obligation might be a better word. Curiosity, perhaps? And necessity, to help guide you to... That is a loaded word for people like us, Yashe. Perhaps. He took a step closer, expression serious. I need to speak to you, Lane Nymera. Please. I bit the inside of my cheek hard to keep from snapping at him, because I was tired of every other person I encountered seeming to know all about what was happening while I knew only what meager facts I managed to scrape together on my own. But it wasn't Safari's fault I was in the dark. It's probably mine. I should have just listened to my father's message. Alright, but I want to talk to you alone first. First? Oh, you're going to be explaining the situation to everyone here, because they all deserve answers, not just me. But I have something to say to you privately before that. Cass stood beside me, but was holding himself back from saying anything. I glanced Noel's way. This won't take long. Why don't you go into the conference room? You can call for the senior staff when you're ready. I nodded slightly and motioned for Savari to follow me, grateful Noel was letting me have this. I'm surprised you wish to talk to me alone. I'm surprised he did not protest. And I'm surprised you think you know either of us well enough to guess what we might do. Hang on. There we go. He was silent again, and I turned away from him. I want to know what you're going to dump on this crew before you do it, and I don't want to be surprised when you say it to them. My father clearly set me up for something. I want to know how serious it is. It is serious, but manageable. You know why people are after me. Yes. This key I supposedly have. I want you to know that I have no idea. You don't have the key. You are the key. I was kind of thinking that direction, especially when I didn't find anything amongst the possessions. Yeah, Jan said that too. Of course, he also said that I have the keys, so there's a bit of confusion there, isn't, huh? Jan is... no matter. He is not important. The key I'm referring to is known by many names throughout the galaxy and is sought by many people. The Indome, the Deltiral, Yenshayali. Why must those names be kind of odd? You may have heard of some referred to the Lyshefa Circle. Yeah, well, the Lyshefa Circle is also supposed to be a place, a star system. Something to do with activating the supposed star wave the aliens made, and I've heard of the Deltiral before. I know it's the way home, some Cyrillian legend about returning to their origin. Yes, and the key you bear is all of those things, Nymera. The Yanchali, a sort of control code that serves many functions. Whatever it is, I don't have it. From what I have pieced together, your father imprinted it on your mind before he placed you into stasis. Then seeded the galaxy with information about it so it could be found when the time was right. He what? He what? Oh gosh. We are furious. Yes. I was so angry that I don't think my body even knew how to react. I just stood there gripping the top of the chair hard enough it hurt. My brain couldn't even catch up with what Savari had said. A control code? I wanted to shout. I wanted to pitch the chair through the nearest window. A definite bad idea when it's space. Yeah. I wanted to hit something. Anything. Excuse me. And I couldn't do any of that, so the rage was threatening to leak out my tear ducts instead. I bit the inside of my cheek hard and swallowed past a lump in my throat, barely holding it together. I had to reel my mind in because I could feel the metal chair bending under the pressure of my psyche, and I didn't want to destroy the conference room and feel bad about it later. I don't even know what to say to that. I can understand. You can't. You keep saying that, but you cannot understand, so just don't. I would rather have more information than your understanding. Very well, I will tell you what I know. When we first learned of the Enchile, we also believed it to be something other than a control code. We thought it was the compass pointing the way home, the way to return from exile. You said the Deltarol is a Cyrillian legend, and truth it has its origins within Nostrana. When we were banished, the entry points to Valayan space were moved. Even if we returned to where they once were, we find nothing. They were relocated repeatedly through the years that followed. Then the homeworld was locked away when most of the others vacated it. We were left with no way to find the entrance and no way to get inside, even if we did. The idea of a key to enter Valayan space has long existed among the fledglings. They view it as a treasure trove, a place to be found and looted. But a compass to point the way to a home other than a source of profit was something we longed for alone. We sought for the Deltarol, our compass, for many long years before we learned of the Enchile itself. More than just a map or a beacon to point the way, it was the culmination of our search and many others. It was our Deltarol, our way home. It was Indomay, a key to open the lock. So many names, so many attributes thought to belong to individual artifacts, were in truth tied to a single object. And yes, even if we first believed it was an object, one bound to a specific location perhaps, we searched for so long. But that was also wrong. And we are not the only ones that eventually connected the Enchile with the celestial web as well, the structure others called the Starway. Hence the same light that would lead us home was sought after by others as a way to light the rest of the galaxy with the activation of the Starway, sought by others, including the UC guilds. Among many, yes, they have been perhaps among the most diligent of the seekers. Over time, we began to believe that the Enchile was in the possession of a person rather than at a location. And then it was only when you awakened we realized there was more to it than just that. As of now, only a few have determined that the key is not an artifact, but that it resides within an individual. I believe your guild, for example, still seeks an object or a location. You were caught in their search only because you could have knowledge of the location or be in possession of the object. Still a matter of time before they also learned the truth. I leaned against the end of the table, staring into the void beyond. I am going to go get the others. I think this is the part that probably pertains to them. None of this pertains to them. They are temporary companions along the way. Wayne, this is not about them. I gritted my teeth at the way he said my name. You are even less than they are, I hope you realize, and do not call me that. Is that really all you believe I am to you? Yes. He was silent, then turned away from me and went to the long window near where I had been standing. I took that as him accepting what I'd said, so I went to call Noel and the others in, so they could hear the rest of whatever he had to say. Noel appeared to have had the senior staff assembled and waiting because they came in right away. Gav was there as well, for obvious reasons, but I wasn't sure if he was a member of the senior staff. he hadn't been in that first meeting with me. I think it's pretty clear why he wasn't there, but yeah. But given what I knew now, maybe he just avoided it because he didn't want to meet me back then. At any rate, they filed in, a little wary and very curious. I'll spare you all the long introductions, let Savara get into the details of what my father dragged you all into, since it seems he has information I don't. Savara wouldn't want to know their names anyway, though despite that, I suspected he already knew them. The gist of everything until now is that I have a sort of Valayan skeleton key in my head, allegedly. And it unlocks some quite annoying things that a lot of people have had their eyes on for a long time. Not everyone has worked out that the thing they're looking for is in my head, or anyone's head. Most seem to still be looking for an artifact that might be stashed somewhere. Some may think I have it, or they may assume any random Valayan has it. I don't know. Skeleton key is like a key that unlocks a lot of things, right? More correctly, Lane Nalo, a very honorific, considered very polite and respectful, usually reserved for those with an esteemed lineage or who have some sort of notable achievement under their name, has implanted in her mind a control code that can give access to some very important structures and places. It may also possess other functions or information we don't know of. We aren't aware of the full extent of its capabilities. It's in your mind? I guess that's why there's some confusion about whether I have the key or am the key. Surprise! It's both. There's one holy fuck that came from Reef, which, yeah, I was in agreement there. Seems the stories about this Yenchali go back quite some years. That's why there's a lot of uncertainty about what it is, where it is, and who might have it. Different people have followed different trails and legends and rumors and think they're looking for different things, but they all circle back to this control code. As we've discovered, the guild is looking for this key too. Right now, they still seem to think it might be an artifact hidden in a specific place. Huh, is that why the ship we ran into was looking for a star system? They said it was for a Fargate or something. The Le Chef's circle appears to be some sort of reference to the Yenchali, but it may have been mistaken for a location. The Fargate was likely a cover story. How does a key get mistaken for a place? I imagine Le Chef's is an extreme corruption of Le Verchier, which is a type of multi-layered psychic key. Why do you do this to me, writer? Why? Visual representations are often concentric circles rotating around each other. It could have been mistaken for some sort of orbital diagram, like a star system. Didn't really occur to me that what it was without context, just thought it was some weird-ass made-up word. You're familiar with this type of key, then? Not directly, I just know what they are. They're pretty old school. Huh. Then that raider attack on us was... It could be they're concerned about the possibility someone else got to the artifact first. A Valayan who shows up with a substantial store of Valayan items from a strange place could look suspicious. We believe they've pieced together information from many different sources, cryptic descriptions that may have led them on some, to use a Terran phrase, of wild goose chases. Even we didn't initially know the form of this key. Then how the hell did the all-powerful space wizards figure out they were also on a wild goose chase until now? The confusion on Savaria's face at race moniker for Valayans almost made me smile and drew a quiet snicker from Asher. Savaria said to think better of Basket, which somehow made it funnier. It was also because of your guilds and their diligent searching. They stumbled on an old structure near one of the starwave beacons. Alutel Udalan, we called them. It's a variant phrase that roughly translates to memory singer. It was one of many structures once guarded by the Mui tree, though it was left abandoned like so many others when the bulk of Valayans left this galaxy. Mui tree? Like guards, they were stationed in various danger zones through the galaxy to keep fledgling races out. Many of them left during the main exodus. There are still groups of wanderers that keep watch, but there are far too few of them left these days. I've never heard of anything like this. They must have kept it pretty quiet until recently. That tracks with what Shuru told me. Many of the things we left behind can only be activated by Valayans. A failsafe. However, this was a more recent practice. Some of our oldest structures can conceivably be operated by anyone who finds them with little effort. including this one. The islands all held memories, records of many things. Of old races, of threats, the first archaean species, for example. It warned of the dangers lurking in the fringes of the galaxy. Here be dragons! It spoke of Valea, our achievements there, and it told of the structure you call the Starway, which would open the galaxy and beyond to exploration. It must have been a fascinating story to them, told through mental pictures and feelings rather than words. If it had been any other race, they wouldn't have understood a thing, but it was ours, so they understood a surprising amount. We also listened to his stories, and through that discovered we had perhaps misunderstood what we were looking for all this time. And the guilds? What did they do with the information they gathered? They did what children often do when presented with something interesting. I felt Ray fume at that, but he said nothing. He wasn't the only one irritated at that, though. They decided they wanted more. They began to seek out additional information, trying to pin down the location of this starway. It took years before they found one of the gates, longer to find the first of the beacons. That aligns with what Shuru had told me, too. They've made little progress in the years since they discovered it, but they've not stopped trying to locate the rest of the pieces or find a way to activate it. This starway, what do you know about it exactly? Only a little. The celestial web was a monumental task when it was first constructed, one that was never completed, thus it was never activated. It spans the far reaches of the galaxy, but not all of it. The Valayans withdrew to the homeworld before they finished its construction. But even so, it was nearing completion at the time. It is still more expansive than the current Nexus system utilized by your coalition, a system being worn down by overuse. The allure of a more expansive structure was one your Nexus and Exploration guilds could not pass up when they caught wind of what it might be. But uncovering its connection points wasn't easy. They spent years digging up a gate there or a beacon here, and nearly a century later they've uncovered a fraction of a percent of the entire structure, with no real clues where the rest of it may be. Just rumors and bits of information, hence their belief the key to the system's activation lies in a star system of some kind. Or that a map of the web was in some ancient structure somewhere, an artifact that shows where it is and how to activate it. And they're still trying to find it, now more than ever, since they believe others may get to it first. All things considered, maybe starting this thing up isn't a bad idea. What's the problem with them looking for it? It doesn't belong to them. The galaxy does not, and has never belonged to us either. You think we can just build something like this and not answer to anyone for it? This thing passes through millions of star systems, no doubt. We didn't ask anyone's permission to put it there. Don't act all high and mighty, pretending people need to ask our permission before they hack into it and use it for themselves. You don't know what you're talking about, Kavasari Tiang. I believe I know more than you, Savari Yashe. Hey, Lane, is using full names a Valayan thing, or are they pissed at each other? I think you're supposed to whisper that one, Katu. There are 3 fucking telepaths in the room, Kavasari Tiang. What good would whispering do? I almost felt a sense of pity for Noel, given the look on his face. You're embarrassing Noel. You'll live. Savari looked ready to be done with everyone here, but he was the one I couldn't spare any pity for. Well, in any case, the point was that Savari Yashe isn't nearly as knowledgeable as he thinks he is, and is almost certainly far more full of Cav. Shit. Please don't make me have you leave the room. Would you never dream of it, Andara? I'll be a good lad and sit here all quiet like I promise. Do you know that in their quest to locate more of these gates and beacons they have riled up numerous species displeased at having interlopers in their territory to gain? Powerful races that you wouldn't have a clue how to deal with if they showed up at your coalition headquarters demanding answers. Savari turned his cold annoyance towards Rafe when he said that, who only glared back. You are right. The structure passes through many areas of the galaxy that are unexplored and dangerous. Can you imagine the consequences were it brought online without any care in the world as to who it might be disturbing? And yet, like children in a storehouse of glass, your guilds have played and searched and been completely unaware of the damage they could have caused. Because someone has always swooped in to clean it up. Us. The Entente, whether I like them or not. You are not ready for the Starway, fledgling. Yeah, you can stop calling me that anytime. Like you, I have a name, and I'm sure you figured out what it is. Regardless of what any of you think of me, it is a fact that anyone who wants to Starway needs the Enchili to activate it, and yet it can do far more than just that. Is that why the Entente wants to sing in my head then, just to keep the guilds away from it? Because I got the sense they're after the Starway for themselves. The Entente, they view themselves as the new guides to the galaxy. They were seeking a way to the homeworld until they realized we were still here. They don't wish to keep the guilds away from the Starway. They wish to control it themselves, exactly as you say. And you would be fooling yourself if you believe they will stop there should they get a hold of what you carry. We have clashed with them numerous times, including to protect your guild ships from them. So that's why they were so quick to leave when you showed up. They knew you. They know me. They know my history. They don't believe I have the right to return to my own homeland. They believe they are more entitled to the Enchili than the people it was created for. Meaning you, of course. I am aware it can do many things, but for us it has always been our way home, Lainalo. I am not Lainalo, I am just Lane. The Entente are concerned your guilds will awaken something that should not be awakened with their incessant searching. You know well the kinds of things that lurk in the deep. They are not ready. There are things older than Valayans, older than the first Archaeans, things that may not even be from this universe. But I do notice that you braved the threats to build this thing in the first place. Yes, but circumstances have changed. We began building the Starway 2,500 years ago as you marked time, and we could defend ourselves. He let out a sigh like this conversation was exhausting him. It was exhausting me as well, to be fair. We do not wish to hamper the guilds or their searches. Unlike the Entente, I have no intention of stifling such things. I merely wish to return home. The Starway is not our concern. Let them have it if they can find it. In 200, 300 years, when they uncover enough of it to make a difference, perhaps I'll be ready for the responsibility. We can watch things from Valaya and step in only if we're needed. Watching from the homeworld again, just like old times, huh? Noel shot me a careful look. I know what you're thinking, that this is a return to how things once were. But there is more that you don't know. The Entente is preparing to enter galactic politics openly, no longer lurking in the shadows as a rumor. We are concerned about their intentions. I am concerned. It feels familiar. They've been spreading out, seeking new technologies and old ones, building up their strongholds, even engaging with the remaining Archaeans to get them involved. Gathering forces, just in case. Because now the younger races are strong enough and bold enough to do things that can change the galaxy. So they need a kind adult to enforce some rules. If children burn down the house, the parents also suffer the consequences, and one of the races in the Entente has a very special motivation. They view this as their destiny. Delusions of grandeur are hardly uncommon for Archaeans and those bordering on it. It's more than that. They are Shellam. Oh, for fuck's sake. I know that name. You've mentioned it before, Lane. That's the race Valayans helped, right? The ones that sparked their seclusion? They view this as their absolution in a way. And you, is this your absolution as well? Returning to the homeworld to watch things like you refused to do in the past? Perhaps. And if you get to reclaim Valaya? I wish to prevent the Entente from acquiring it foremost. To keep the homeworld from their grasp because I do not believe they will stop at the Starway. And they had set their sights on Valaya before. I want it to protect. And above all, I simply wish to return home, Sulilin. It's a polite pairing term typically used for strangers or people with whom you have no relationship. It means transparent or empty, less respectful than an honorific like Nalo, but is more polite than calling someone by their name alone. And then what, I wondered, would he stop at that? How does your going home work when the control code to all the things is in my head? He didn't respond. I suspected that meant, at the very least, that he didn't know how to get it out. Which also meant they most likely felt they couldn't let me roam around unguarded while carrying this thing. I hope you will choose to help us of your own accord. This is your... don't finish that." He blinked, then sighed. "There's nothing you could say that won't make me angry, or that at least won't make me think you're a liar. If he had been going to say it was my decision, whether I helped or not, I wasn't sure I could sit there and not call it out for the bullshit it was. I sure as hell didn't want to hear that it was my path. Savari thought he had the upper hand in this. I was alone and being sought by people who were more powerful and very willing to threaten this crew to get what they wanted. Because I didn't know where this key was, what it was, or how to get it out of my head, if I even could. Which meant I would need his protection, at least from his point of view. He must think that would make me inclined to go with him, if not now, then when the pressure got to be too much. So he was comfortable being magnanimous and letting me take my time to make the decision he was certain I would make. That was my assumption anyway, and I didn't want to let him give voice to that. Not to mention that if he smugly told me this was my path, I would probably react in a way that would embarrass my captain. You know how to contact me when needed. I believe you have much to think about and discuss. Thank you for your time, Sulil-in. He bowed slightly, and without ceremony, he was gone between one blink and the next. The meeting was silent in his wake. Well, this is some bullshit, isn't it? Rave? Was I not supposed to say it? I appreciate that you didn't keep us in the dark about all this, Lane. I'd never do that. I mean, I don't even know how I could, all things considered. This thing is in my head. Even if I wanted to give it to Savari, which I'm not sure is actually a good idea, it's not like I can just hand it to him. Short of handing myself to him, too. Anyway, as long as I'm on this ship, there will be a lot of eyes focusing this way. More and more as people realize this key they're searching for isn't a place or an artifact, but me. Everyone, I'd like to speak to Lane alone for a few minutes. For now, we'll keep to our original plan, get us to the far gate, Asher. I want us back in the main lines within the hour. Yeah. It was obvious Cav wanted to talk, but that would have to wait. The others filed out, leaving me and Noel alone. I don't even know where to start. In my wildest dreams, I could never have expected things to go this way. What do you think about it? Which part? All of it, I guess? I let out a hollow laugh. Well, being a key feels like a decided downgrade from Space Wizard. What did you think of him, that Savari guy? Doesn't matter what I thought, he's an ex-Nostrana general. It doesn't instill a huge amount of faith, Noel. He was one of their top guys. Suppose that does explain the animosity I was sensing. He didn't seem all that bad to me. Disregarding the arrogance? That goes without saying. I was just surprised he was... Well, it doesn't matter. Listen, a lot of the annoyance is more because I find my father's people annoying than finding Savari unlikable as conversationalists. But the Nostrana were exiled for good reasons. And then they thought a suitable response to being exiled was taking over the galaxy. They did a lot of horrible things, and their actions caused a lot of suffering for other Valayans as well. You can say he's changed, but how do you measure change, Noel? I'm not sure I want to unleash him back on the homeworld. Much less the rest of the galaxy if he decides he's not satisfied with just Valaya. Well, I can't say I disagree with you there. What about the, what did he keep calling it? Yenchili? I don't know that I have any specific thoughts. To say I'm frustrated is an understatement. And as long as this thing is in my head, it doesn't matter who I want to help or if I want to help them. I'm going to have people on my tail. This isn't a data prism or a device I can turn over. I never wanted this deep ties to them or to be some guardian of Valayan interests. And my father, as the world's shittiest goodbye present, made sure I had to be both. Unless I can figure out how to remove it, which I don't even know what it is or where it is. Sorry, I know that's just me complaining. It's a bit overwhelming at the moment, Noel. I knew it would all come crashing in somehow, but I didn't expect him to tie me down like this. If we can make it to Palmyra, maybe you'll have time to come up with a solution. Maybe you really can remove that thing from your head. But making it back home is starting to feel like an if. Don't worry, Jan isn't going to try to swoop back just yet. Savari hasn't gone far enough that he'll get away with it. We'll be fine. I'm so sorry for putting the crew through. Nope, I'm not hearing apologies from you. You're the one most impacted by this right now, Lane. For the rest of us, this is just an annoyance. For you, it's... I didn't think it was just an annoyance, but I didn't want to argue that point. Well, regardless of what it is, I think it's best to get some solid ground under your feet so you can decide what to do. Everything else comes after. Yeah, thanks. I left the conference room unsure what to do with myself. What did one do when they found out something like this? I mean, other than maybe take out a hit on their father for putting them in this situation. But as tempting as that was, my father wasn't in the galaxy at the moment. We were intergalactic bounty hunters, I think. He had better hope not. I just needed some time to figure out what this meant. Somehow I managed to slip out of the bridge and all the way to the observation deck without meeting anyone. My head was a mess, but it didn't matter how long I stood staring at the stars, I wouldn't find answers. And stare out there I did. What did my father really have in mind for me? I mean, why me? Because he knew I'd have to be dragged kicking and screaming to the front door to unlock it, and that meant I wouldn't let just anyone into Valyrian space, or let just anyone access the Starway for the same reason. Or was there something else he wanted me to do? Maybe it was the opposite of that, because there's a lot more to this key than unlocking Valia. Tavari did have some good points about the dangers of the Starway, but is it possible Elion's final wishes were to unlock that possibility for everyone? How could I know what I was supposed to do? I had no idea how long I was there trying to play back every interaction with my father to figure out when he'd started planning this, or if he'd ever dropped any hints. I came up with nothing. There was a flash of familiarity at the edge of my consciousness. Cav was heading this direction. He was still far enough away that I had time to flee, so I did. For now, I just need to be alone with my thoughts. Are you sure that's a good idea? My room was still a mess from earlier, but I ignored it and went to flop face first onto my bed. Remnants of Cav's psyche clung to the bedding from the small amount of time we spent together here earlier. I curled on my side, pulling the blankets to me in a jumbled bunch as I closed my eyes. If I could shut it all out for a little while, it would be nice if that could make it go away. It wouldn't, of course, but I wanted that to be the result. I wish I could sleep and wake up to find all the frustrating responsibilities I hadn't wanted had passed to someone else. Not gonna happen. One of those pointless wishes we sometimes plan to come true. Because we were just too tired to face reality. I did fall asleep surprisingly fast, but my troubles followed me into my dreams instead. I was back on Laertes with Mum, and with an intruder who slipped past my weakened defenses and watched the dream unfold around us. It was a stupid, slithering whisper that sent me into a semi-lucid panic as the scene shifted to a dark hall full of golden keys. Jan was there, standing in the shadows with his eyes locked onto me. Like all dreams, it was terrifying and existential in the moment, even though the context was stupid and whatever symbolism my brain had dredged up. Right. Hang on. Just double checking something. Okay. It was just a dream this time. A regular dream. When I awoke at the start, heart thudding as prickles traced through my arms and chest, I floundered in the blend of stupidity and horror until it faded to a vague headache. I wrestled my way out of my bedding. I slammed my hand on the panel by the bed, wincing at the sudden light. Dragging myself to my feet, I paced around my room to get the dream to fade. A quick check revealed it hadn't even been an hour. It could not be like this every time I tried to sleep going forward. I would definitely break sooner rather than later if it was. It was just stress, but it had been just something from the moment I woke up here. It was just the stress of being locked into a stasis cube for 500 years. It was just the stress of almost dying in a rare astrophysical phenomenon. It was just the stress from the veil, the stress of raiders, the stress of finding out something like normalcy had never even been on the table. When did I get to not have stress sending me nightmares anymore? I gripped my forehead, trying to shake off that gross, sick feeling that trailed after every nightmare. Something caught my eye on the table a couple of yards away. That stupid message prism from my father. I set it there without listening to it before being called to the bridge last time. Sudden anger hit me again at the sight of the only thing I had in my possession that was from him. I stalked to the desk and picked it up, turning it over in my hands. What could possibly be on here that would help the current situation? He wouldn't have left instructions on how to get the stupid key out of my head. At best, it was instructions for what he wanted me to do with it. Not this one. Excuse me. It's early. I'm still tired. Listen to the message. I tapped my fingers on it, scowling at the table where the prism reader was sitting. Then I snatched it up and shoved the prism inside, pressing my thumb into the indentation in the corner before I could change my mind. My daughter. There's no visual recording, but the sound of his voice started immediately. Not his real voice. Even Valayan's hadn't quite managed to master recording telepathy just yet. No, this was just a mechanical approximation that lacked that distinctive resonating echo of Valayan voices. But I'd heard that phrase so many times, oh, so familiar and just as painful. An indescribable feeling washed over me. Rage, tempered by sorrow. Something deeper, too. Longing? I didn't know. I couldn't put the complex single into words, so I settled for the easy one. Rage. I snatched the crystal from the reader and slammed it on the desk, breathing hard and gritting my teeth heavily enough my jaw hurt. Elion. I couldn't hear his voice right now. I thought I was ready to do it, but the sound of it made me want to crawl out of my skin and run somewhere far away. Before I realized, I was crouching on the floor, gripping the side of my desk and fighting back tears. Damn him! And then I was fleeing my room to find solace somewhere else. Fuck him. And the others, and what they were trying to drag me into. No matter what they did, I would fight it. The more they tried, the harder I would do it. As I passed through the corridors, for the first time in a long time, I felt like this tiny ship caught in the emptiness was too small. I wanted to be somewhere wide open where I could run or just stroll for hours and get lost in a crowd. I wanted to be under a wide sky and not out here where I felt vulnerable. The problem with being on a small ship in the middle of nowhere was that the walls were closing in around you. There was nowhere to go. Duran or his assistant were probably in the garden. The observation deck and galley cameras at the risk of seeing someone else. Just didn't want to face anyone yet. I couldn't. I wandered for a few minutes, just turning down random corridors without purpose. I didn't know where I was heading, but when I sensed two junior crew members I didn't know well coming, I took the coward's way out and slipped into one of the maintenance ducts. Barely made it inside and pulled the hatch closed before I felt foolish for being so dramatic about this whole thing. Letting out a self-loathing laugh, I sat back and draped an arm over my face. I'm an idiot. Still, I didn't leave, but headed a little further in. At least it was a change of scenery from my room. And one thing was certain, I wasn't going to run into anyone here. Besides, it was warm, cramped, and where the soothing hum of the engine temporarily drowned everything out. It was pleasant, even if my ass was sore after 5 minutes. Sometimes even adults wanted to hide in their closets to get away from life for a while. My closet was a dimensional sphere, so this would have to work. I don't know how long I was there, leaning against the side, head back and eyes shut, enjoying the feeling of safety from the closed-in space. It was funny how my room felt like it was closing in around me, but this place was even more cramped and didn't feel the same way. Proof I was just frustrated, I was certain. My brain didn't know what it wanted, and I guess, in a way, I didn't anymore either. I heard the hatch unlock again after a while. There was nowhere to go, and it was cab anyway. Definitely not arriving to do repairs, just to find me. So I stayed put when he stuck his head in and looked at me like I'd lost my mind. What the hell are you doing in here? I like both answers. I don't know which one I want to do. Just need to stretch. I think you're giving it the space wizard thing and taking up as a throne. Okay, that sounds boring unless you like scampering around eating breadcrumbs, chewing on the wires, and dodging Rafe. But hey, who am I to judge your hobbies? Want some company? Sure. He crawled in, pulling the hatch shut behind him before he sailed in next to me. It took about 10 seconds before the complaint started. My ass hurts. You can sit in my lap if you like. Sounds comfy, for me anyway. Pretty sure I'd crush you though. You're not that much bigger than I am. I think that is a pleasant little lie you tell yourself. I've got at least 10 centimeters on you, Nalo. You say it like that's a significant amount. Either way, there's not enough room for it, is there? Not really. Settling back against the wall and drawing his knees up, he sighed a little. But I could see why it's comforting to be in here, I guess. He leaned his head back and shut his eyes. It was my turn to study him for a moment. Are you okay? Why are you asking me that? You're the one with the flaying telepathic key in your head, Lane. Yeah, but I imagine seeing Savare was for you and what seeing my father would be like for me. Probably much worse. I don't know about that. Your frustration and hurt are a hell of a lot more fresh than mine. For me, I guess to be honest, I don't know how I feel about it. That guy's an asshole, no doubt. And yeah, I'm angry, but at the same time, it's been centuries. I thought I'd be furious to encounter someone like him again, but it's hard to find the resolve to expend that much energy after all this time. It's weird because I spent a lot of years hunting bastards like him down out of some sense of justice. But things change. I guess it's been too long. And that makes me feel weird too. I wasn't as angry or vengeful as I thought I'd be. Maybe being a Thronola is a good idea. This is just too much thinking. He rolled his head to the side, reaching over to let his fingers linger on my cheek. And you? I admit I was kind of hoping to see you crawl across the conference table and tap dance on that fucker's face. Alas, you didn't entertain me half as much as I wanted, and I had to sit through that boring speech of his for nothing. Which makes me think you are and were feeling pretty shitty. Definitely not quite in tap dancing condition, no. Definitely not quite, though I admit doing it on his face makes it more enticing. For you and me both. Then again, he's so uptight he probably is the type to secretly love that sort of thing. Today, in mental images I did not want. Thanks. I just want to know what this key in my head can do and who all is after it. Safari knew more than he was saying, and that irritates me. I deserve to know. It's one thing if I can unlock the Vanitsu or locate the entry points. It's another thing if there's a lot more to it. The Starway as well. Activating it or locating all the beacons. Excuse me. That's one thing on its own. But calling it the Yenshuli as if that's all it can do feels like a stretch. So what else is there? Hey, even if all it could do was let it back into the sphere lane, what gives him the right? Who says he's the one to go back there and set Valea up on a throne again? And the rest of the Cyrillin? Why do you have to be the one holding his hand, or anyone's hand, and leading them back home like some sort of unwilling shepherd? How many years have to pass before he can atone for the millions of lives he helped take? Can he ever? Maybe he thinks restoring Valea's place, whatever that means, is just more atonement. Like offering themselves up for servitude to the rest of the galaxy, or something along those lines. And what if it's just pride? I know, I can't say if he's the right person for this. Excuse me. And he's too hard to read, but you know he will try to make it about the rest of them. If the entry points were changed, then it implies everyone outside was turned into an outcast the moment the others left. That's an if. We have no idea if there are backdoors that others know about. Besides, we don't even know how it works. Will it deactivate the defense protocol? What if it's permanently needed for entry and exit? And even if it's not, you think they're going to let you go when other people know you have this thing in your head? You're too vulnerable out here and they know it. The guilds, raiders, and who knows who else. They'll never stop looking for you. That JN. Stop yawning. I trust him even less than Savare. He says it's just about the Starway, but I agree there's no way they'd be content with just that much. I can't argue with that. When the hell did that guy even find out? How long has he been waiting for a chance to swoop in? They've both been looking for me for a while now, I think. Because of the stasis, my perception of them was fuzzy enough I couldn't tell them apart from the normal nightmares at first. I was disoriented, and it took a while for my abilities to stabilize. By the time I became aware of them, they were already closing in. Then that thing with the raiders led them right to me. Man, your dad really left you in a shitty, defenseless situation. I wish I hadn't been so. I should have protected you from the start instead of being too much of a dick to do anything but watch. None of this is your fault, so it's stupid to put even the smallest amount of guilt on your own shoulders. Too late, Eldonalo. Are you going to tell me what that really means at some point? I told you, it means you are nothing but trouble. A regretful smile made its way to his lips as one of his hands traced a path down my arm to my fingers, twining with them. Everything about you, from the top of your head down to the tips of your fingers and toes, is the worst kind of trouble, and the absolute best kind. He rested his forehead against mine with a sigh. Like you, I want to know how dangerous that thing in your head is. The Lanes left some scary shit just sitting around the galaxy. That thing gives people access to every single one of them. I know, I'm going to have to see if my father left any clues as to what this thing does. I just want to get to Palmyra where I can have some space to breathe and assess everything properly. I feel so vulnerable out here on this tiny ship that can't hold its own at all. On Palmyra, I can maybe fade into the shadows, hide in the noise of all those people, and find time to search for this thing and examine what it is. It can help you vanish for a while, too. The other good thing about being off this ship is that if something happens, it won't mean dragging everyone else into it like it does here. I know that's what really has you bogged down right now. If you were on your own, you'd be skating through this without a care in the world. Maybe some cares still. Yeah, right. I just feel like Noel will fling himself headlong into anything for someone he considers under his care, and that isn't fair to him. It's probably all the more true for me, given how responsible he feels for waking me up. Well, he feels responsible for it because he is, in fact, responsible for it. There's a reason Tara and Say Curiosity killed the cat. Please don't make it sound like I'm going to get these people killed, Cav. I don't think it's going to come to that. But Lane, don't forget, they are your companions. Our companions. And that means we're theirs as well. You can't just ignore that fact. It's why you want to protect them. But it also means you need to respect how that bond feels on their end. They wish to protect you for the same reason. Yes, and so way. I will eventually get these. I knew as soon as you learned about that you were going to pull it out at every opportunity. Still can't picture it, but honestly sometimes I wish I could. I leaned against him, shutting my eyes, and for a moment he rested his cheek against the top of my head. Lane? My ass really does hurt. He snickered as he shrugged me off his shoulder and reached for the hatch, wriggling back out of the duct. He offered his hand. Come on, get out of there. You'd make a terrible Thrall. Way too affectionate. And cute. I pulled myself out too, stretching a little, though I still wasn't feeling up to doing much but moping. Cad pulled me against him, hugging me tight. You aren't alone, Lane. We'll figure out what to do. And, worst comes to worst, there are groups we can ask for help. And they don't even all hate me. I have no idea why you were sounding so proud when you say that. Well, when you're as charming as I try to be, people get jealous. Sure, that's why people are wary of you. Definitely. Cad brought my hand to his cheek. I know you're frustrated, Lane, but for now, we just need to wait. Savari will lurk and keep Jan off our asses. We'll use him as long as he's willing to be used, and by the time he's not, we'll have a solution to all this. I hope that's how it goes. It will be. But I didn't say it with the certainty as someone who had looked ahead to see, because that could leave a trail that would let them latch on and find us, no doubt, even if he was a guide. He was just trying to be optimistic, as was I. It was hard, though. We retreated from the corridor, but I didn't want to go to my quarters, so we went to the galley instead. Cab was doing his best to be jovial to distract me, and while it wasn't working, I appreciated the effort. But to his chagrin, he was called to the lab again, leaving me to mope on my own for a while. Eventually, though, I returned to my quarters where an annoying cleanup situation was awaiting for me. And once more, as I picked up the clothes and the rest of the mess, other thoughts started filtering back in. I had to admit that, in the past, whenever my heritage would rear its head in a particularly annoying way, I tended to leave that place behind and find somewhere else. A bounty hunter on Loria, the Veil showed up on Sanctus 7, that one weird-ass scientist that followed us around for months that time. In every instance, I took the first opportunity and hopped to a new place. This time, though, I didn't want to do that. Hence, my focus had to be finding this key and getting rid of it somehow, if that was even possible. My father had probably hidden it deep enough in my mind that others couldn't find it. That meant I wouldn't find it easily either. Extracting it somehow was going to be even trickier because something that could be extracted easily wouldn't have been hidden in the first place. Did he think I wanted to do that level of soul-searching, though? More like he didn't care whether I wanted it or not. That bastard better hope I never find him again. And I was going in circles again. Straight back to that annoying liminal space between finding out something major and waiting for everything to collapse into whatever reality became the one I lived in. So instead, I started picking up all the scattered things still lying around my room. Shirts and socks, books, a hairbrush. That stupid message prism. I had my doubts that it had anything other than excuses on it. But I listened to it in full, too, later, when the sound of his voice didn't make me want to destroy my room in frustration. I had time to figure this out, to find a solution. I have time. I kept telling myself that while I cleaned, unsure if it was really true. The next few days passed, and there was still no sign of JN, no raiders either, and no Valayan wanderers. Safari was still tracking me, of course. Even if I blocked myself from his view, he'd be able to track the others through their paths. I didn't think he was nearby physically, but he didn't have to be. I couldn't even stop him from keeping an eye on us in any case. If it kept JN at bay, that was all we needed. The crew had been quiet around me for a day or so. I think they weren't sure what to say, but things went back to normal soon enough. I could tell everyone was eager to get home. Sometimes I felt Noel watching me. He was worried. For him, I was already an accepted member of the crew, which meant I was part of the fold. One of the people he was supposed to be responsible for. Sometimes I wondered what nature felt like to non-Valayans. Did they feel it in their own way? Was that why he and some of the others had been so quick to accept me from the start? I wasn't sure, but with Noel especially, I wondered. For a while, it felt like everyone treated me especially gently, though I had been spending more time alone, had them worried I was on the verge of breaking. And none of them knew what to say, at least not at first. Even Rafe avoided the topic for a little while. But he was back to making space for the jokes, and somehow, I was grateful for that. Surprisingly so, the normalcy was appreciated. You couldn't forget being told you might be critical to the continuation of interstellar travel, and that you're annoyingly the key someone left under the mat to their homeworld. But it was also so silly and outrageous that I kind of had to push it away and go on with life. No one could think about that sort of thing all the time. Not without losing their mind. So we had all settled back into routine and let it somewhat fall to the background, and before we knew it, the approach to Pelmeri 4 was around the corner. So we were having the usual morning meetup. We're on the last leg of the journey here, everyone. Final morning meeting here on the ship. We'll be reaching Pelmeri in less than 2 hours. Finally! Asher, I know the drill. Everyone else, please get your final reports in on time and make my life for the next 2 days a little easier. And by everyone, I mean you, Rafe. Yeah. Grace, Ren, how are the labs? The reorg is finished. Everything is just waiting to be unloaded. Glad to hear it. Listen, I know everyone tends to scatter since we hit space dock, but I need you all to stay available this time around. I have a feeling we're going to have a lot of meetings with R&J. The fuck are we going to relay about the Starway and Entente and all that? I assume you've not broadcast that across space-time after how spectacularly awful that went last time. That wasn't Noel's fault. No, it wasn't. We had no idea anyone would be listening to that. I get it. It wasn't an accusation. I haven't updated R&J on anything related to that yet. We'll obviously give them a briefing when we arrive. I think it's best to do it in person at this point. When you're finished there, get to your stations, and Lane, I'd like a word when you're done here. Of course. It wasn't too much longer before everyone began to clean up and break up to get to their usual final routines before space dock. Cav had stayed close the last couple of days, as much as he thought he could get away with. He only left my side when the lab gremlins were looking for him. I really wasn't sure anymore if it was for my comfort or his. Gonna head up and watch the approach to Pelmeri later? Yeah, probably. I reckon I'll see you then. In any case, I need to talk to you about something when we disembark. Alright. He pulled me back for a quick hug, burying his face in my neck before he pulled away and disappeared into the hall. Aww. Noel pulled me aside as everyone else was filing out so we could talk. How are things? By things, I assume you mean how they attempted to at least locate the telepathic imprint in my head? Yeah, that's what I mean by things. Not well, honestly. There are 100 different ways you can set up a key like this, and I'm only somewhat familiar with them. The brain is a physical object. Consciousness is not. I don't even know for sure if it is a proper telepathic imprint. That's an assumption. For all I know, he burned some kind of physical key into my body, something that can be triggered somehow. Savari made it seem more like a proper imprint, but even then, the whole thing is like searching inside me for a memory I didn't know I had when I wasn't even aware I'd lost. Your father's message to you? Did you finally manage to... Well, I guess that look on your face says about everything I need to know. Yeah, I'd worked up the results to listen, only to find that it contained a reassurance I'd figure it out. And excuses. There was really nothing? No, there was... My jaw tightened as I looked away. There was a useless apology and some stuff about the paths. He seemed loath to give me any direction, for fear of mule or nep, most likely. Before you ask, it's this stupid concept about tainting someone's path, like altering their natural trajectory because you've revealed too much about their future. It's always a concern of theirs when they feel there's something important ahead of a person. Didn't he already do that when he put you into stasis? Did that not alter your natural trajectory? That's a good point. Ding, ding, ding! Correct. Isn't it amazing how he's able to set that aside as something else? Helping me out is somehow tainting my path, but forcing me onto the path he wants is just course correction or something. The whole thing is so stupid. If this now was meant to be, so putting me here was necessary. That's what he'd argue. How does he decide what was meant to be versus what needs to be decided naturally? Convenience? If he thinks it should happen, it was meant to be. If it's a decision he wants to wash his hands of, that's on me. The disbelief on Noel's face made me almost feel bad. Don't be too shocked by the contradiction. They're all like this. They put themselves above others like there's something special because they can see a little ahead. And in reality, they're just as petty and irrational as the rest of us. The point is that I'm on my own with this. Anyway, all I can do is keep searching on my own. Not that I knew what I would do when I found this key, but one step at a time, I suppose. Okay, I get it. Look, this isn't actually what I wanted to talk to you about. Oh, what then? Well, it is to do with your living situation, I suppose. I've had Gates looking into some things because regardless of what else is true, the guilds are also involved in this, and that makes me nervous. As soon as we get to Palmyra 4, I want to reinstate your UC citizenship. I think, based on what Gates has dug up, we can treat it like a normal case of long-term space hibernation. It's rare, but not unheard of, that people stumble on some early sleepership. You know this probably, so there is a policy in place for this kind of thing. 500 years is a bit much, but there is a protocol for long-term stasis situations. I think the safety being a UC citizen brings will be useful to you, though I'm aware we never settled on how to handle that. Since you were registered as a Laertes citizen and a Terran, I think we should reestablish that status as soon as possible. That makes sense. If the guild was still trying to keep tabs on us, they would have a much easier time if I couldn't, say, go to the authorities about weird people following me. As a random interstellar traveler with unverifiable identity and past, it would be much more difficult to get help. As a citizen, not so much. Our cargo is going to be hauled down for cataloging first thing, and, well, it's hard to know what will happen from there with the remaining filet items. Everyone always tries to get their fingers in things like this. A finder's claim only goes so far sometimes, and this is pretty big. I know R&J will do what they can to make sure it's not confiscated, but given that the next guild is involved, we can't be sure who else might be. We've kept your personal items off the record, of course, and the Blaine nav charts. I want to continue keeping those quiet. Especially with the current situation. I feel like those nav charts might be a possible flashpoint. It might be better to bring those up later. Much later. So if you could, sneak it all off the ship right away, I think it would be for the best. For now. No problem. Didn't really expect that, but all things considered, maybe it was for the best. And I want you to come up to the bridge after this. You've been hiding out a lot the last couple of days. I just don't see a need to continue that. I don't know what you'll decide going forward, but for now, you're a member of the crew. Come out to the bridge and help Daz at his station. Got it. I'll be there. I'll make sure to get everything packed up first, though. There's still a few data prisms scattered about as we were all working on getting them translated. I'll make sure I found them all. Gates transferred all that information to a mobile storage device, too. We'll leave that in your care? Yeah, I think that's for the best, too. Not much value in keeping the source material if there's a translated copy somewhere. Okay, I'll see you up on the bridge in a bit. I still think of Noel's plan to reestablish my identity when we got back. To be honest, I hadn't considered it. I guess I expected to just move on from it. There were a lot of non-citizens in UC territory, so I assumed I would just plan to be one of them. Lots of people from non-aligned worlds were just passing through and didn't have proper ID, but could get some kind of temporary thing set up. So I hadn't seen a reason to worry about it. But Noel had a point that it came with some rights and protections that would be useful. Not sure how we'll explain the 500-year stasis situation. I hadn't even looked up the exact details of my disappearance. I had assumed the crew said I went missing, but come to think of it, it should be strange for my father to not come up with some kind of situation. There is no way they allowed kidnapped Bolians to be my official fate. I'd have to look into that when we got to Palmyra 4. For now, I just gathered up my things, the prisms, and stowed everything and went to find any stray ones lying about the rec room or anywhere else as well. Not that they'd mean anything or be useful to anyone who didn't know what they were, but just to be on the safe side. And I stopped by the central storage as well. My father put those items there for a reason, and maybe some of them would come in handy. I didn't want to use a neural disruptor on anyone, or use anything else there, but I might need them. So I grabbed a few things that might be useful, and maybe made some slight alterations to the manifest Daz and I created. I didn't tell Noel, because better to ask forgiveness and all that, but I figured he'd understand. And finally, with all that tucked away, I went up to the bridge where the others were. Our approach was uneventful, and Palmyra 4 was an unremarkable planet, but for the connections I had to people who lived there. It was a planet like so many others, a blue, green, and brown ball hung in the ether with a web of lights across its surface. As we skimmed through the upper atmosphere on our descent, I felt some of the stress fall away. The black void faded into blue sky above vast cityscapes, and I had nothing to do but stand and watch as the crew prepared for landing. I was glad to be back, even though I'd never been here before. But somehow I was still glad to be home for however long it would last. And that's it. Okay, so that's it for today. Probably could have gotten through that yesterday as well, but my voice was getting tired and I needed a break. So like I said, I don't know when I'll next stream. It depends on situations. Brain work. It's too early in the day for this. So yeah. Thank you all for joining me. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like, share, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I will, of course, be playing the other routes. I don't know if I'll do it right away or if I'll save it, but we'll see. Who am I kidding? I'll do it right away. Drink water, eat food, take your meds, take a nap, take a shower, go to the bathroom, take care of yourself. Stay cool if it's hot, stay warm if it's cold, and I'll see you next time. Bye!